It's all just so inappropriate. I can't continue to call this car Ian Paisley. That's going to be its former name. It just doesn't suit it anymore. I am utterly charmed by this car. I just think it's so lovely. I just want to keep it in my pocket. I want to take it in the house. Obviously, I like the car. It's a Rover, but they're not all equal. Many a time I've driven or owned a Rover and just not been so taken with it. But this just makes me all warm and fuzzy on the inside. Like the interior of a cat that's been turned inside out. Anyway, as you can see, I'm out in it doing a little drive. It's not a drive for the sake of driving though. I'm taking this car to a place called Whitworth, where I shall leave it. Yeah, that's confusing, but that's how I like to do things. I like to at first confuse, then explain, and somewhere in the bemusement, you get what I'm talking about. Healy Deli. That's a good name. I have some very good friends. You may think that Mr. Boaty is my best friend. No, not him. So, what about Steve? Yeah, Steve's a very good friend. But actually, the person I'd have to say was my best friend, if we have to have such a thing. Because let's face it, it's all a bit schoolboyish, isn't it? Best friend, besties, mates. Well, my friend Kev, I've known him since I was 19, and that was quite a long time ago, believe it or not. And we have always just had the most amazing friendship, where we just seem to find each other hilarious. Nobody else does. I mean, it's like both of us together. Other people don't find very funny at all, so it's a bit like being a couple of girls. Anyway, his dad is going to be in need of a car for a little while, and I think he's 84. He doesn't drive very often, but I believe he'll look after this car. Oh, even more confusing. Yes, this car is going up to. I'm lending him this car. And you might think, well, that's a jolly kind thing to do. Well, yes, it is. But he's doing a much bigger favour for me than me lending him this car. And that is he's giving me his car, which is a Rover 75 Tourer with a tow bar and a diesel engine, because he no longer needs it, or he no longer wants it or something, I'm not really sure. Well, it's just about to run out of MOT, and he doesn't want to continue with it. He doesn't need a car that size any longer. He doesn't need a car that's that. He wants something a bit more modern. So obviously this, which is a few years older, will suit him down to the ground. Yeah, more stuff that doesn't make any sense. The next trick is to find where he lives, which might sound like a bit of an odd thing to say, but the last time I went to his house, I was in the back of his car with Kev, and that was 1990. I think I've only ever been there twice. You have to understand, if you've been somewhere once before, you assume you just know where it is. As a man with manly ways, the last thing I'm going to do is bother him by asking for his address. No, I'll just find it. Come on. Back to what I was talking about before. This car called Ian Paisley shouldn't really be called Ian Paisley, should it? It just doesn't deserve it. It's just so small, charming, lovely, and it needs a name that reflects that. And that name is going to be Ronnie Corbett. Yes. Ronnie Corbett. That's my impression of Ronnie Corbett. I didn't work on it, I just did it. and I'm hoping not to think, why the bloody hell did I do that? So Ronnie Corbett it is. I'm going to write its name on the back at some point.
2 weeks later.
Ronnie Corbett. That's not a very good impression of him, is it? No, it's not. But here I am back in Ronnie Corbett. Ronnie Corbett. Yes, formerly known as Ian. It's cute. It should have little glasses on it, and it should be funny as well. And it is funny. It's funny. It's a smiley, happy little car. It's definitely of a different decade, and it's just a joyous thing, just like Ronnie Corbett. And having been out of my care for the past week and a half, maybe 2 weeks, it's back. All of this time it's been sat up here, out of sight. Bill's put a steering wheel lock on it, and he said it won't be getting stolen on my watch. I appreciate that. That's very nice. So whilst Kenneth, the Rover 75, got itself a new MOT, has done hundreds of miles and rescued an Audi from the ravenous abuse of the Hebden Bridge good folk, this little car, which I left with Bill so that he didn't have a car whilst he got his new one, has been to the post office and back, and that's it. Which means it's going to have done more miles getting me back home than it has done in the couple of weeks it's spent there on loan. It's a little bit hesitant actually. Seems to have a little bit of a misfire on the go. Let's hope that's not anything too concerning. Well, maybe Ronnie didn't like having a name change, because now it's stammering a little bit. You hear that? Yeah, and under load it's worse. It's idling nicely, so I'm going to have a little check out of what. I'm going to have to have a little dabble with this now. Right? See if there's anything obvious or untoward when I get to work. And that. So yeah, I'm going to go to work. What we need now is a bit of old-style investigation into Ian's or Ronnie's running issues. Now, I haven't got my list of things that have been done to this car, but it has been quite a lot. My initial thoughts are the dizzy cap on the rotary arm. That looks quite new. It's kind of got a feeling that that's been replaced. Right, I am pretty confident that this is the culprit, because there's not a lot of contact stuff there at all. Well, yes. Back to the days of just knowing instinctively what's wrong. Ronnie it is. That's better. That's how it should be. What's more satisfying? The kind of fix that's really frustrating at the time, but you eventually get there, you go home, your hands are grubby, your face is worn out, your back's fallen out with you, your elbows feel like they're in somebody else's jacket, but you get it done. Perseverance, blood, sweat, tears. Or a job like this where you think, I think it's that, and then you replace it, and that was it. That's basically all it was. What's better? Well, I know which one I prefer. Bringing this car back, and it was already on its way to be going a bit dark. The latter, yeah. Gosh, Ronnie Corbett really is one of my favourite ever cars. And I don't know how much waffling I'm doing, because it was 2 weeks ago when I last drove it, and I drove it for the 5 miles or 7 miles or whatever it happened to be, talking about how much I liked it. And all I can do is the same thing now, you don't really want the end of the video to be the same as the beginning, do you? But actually, that's the conclusion. That I just really like it. It's one of my favourite ever cars. I know I've said that before because I said it only 15 seconds ago. But what else can I say? It's just perfect. Well, I mean, it's not perfect, but it is wonderful. Anyway, this car gives me yet another conundrum because I like it so much. I'd love to keep it. But I do need to keep the 75. In fact, I'm not even going to start suggesting that one's going for sale. And I can't get rid of Nigel, and I can't justify 3 cars. I probably could actually. Obviously, I like it. Hello. That's the first time I've ever waved at a man on a roof.